Am I the fool for leaving my ex to sit and take care of his child and taking a business class upgrade to myself? I, 30 female, have been dating Matt, 33 male, for about a year. Matt has a kid, Alex, from his first relationship. The kid is under 2 years old. Every now and then I used to look after Alex when Matt was at work. We don't live together, but they stay at mine every now and then. We decided to go on holiday for 10 days at the start of May, and due to some family drama, Alex had to go with us. The flights were over 8 hours long, and I have booked the tickets for all of us. During the flight and the holiday, I have spent nearly all my time was spent looking after Alex, while Matt had the time of his life. Some things came to my attention. He was still seeing his ex, which resulted in us breaking up at the end of our stay. On the flight back, we were all sitting together, and a flight attendant approached us and asked my ex if he wanted an upgrade to the business class. Before he could say anything, I have mentioned it was me who bought the tickets and used my own account to pay for them, so an upgrade should go to me. The flight attendant was trying to argue at first as she assumed Alex was my child, but I told her that's not the case and ended up having an upgrade so I can relax after spending all this time looking after Alex. After the flight, Matt, a few other passengers who assumed I am the mom as well as some family members and friends called me an asshole for not giving the upgrade to Matt, even after I have mentioned the flight attendant didn't say anything about Alex being allowed to join Matt. Am I the fool for not asking my mom to pay for my stepsister to go on her school field trip? My parents are divorced and my brother, 12 male, and I, 16 female, split time between mom and dad. Our dad remarried after the divorce 9 years ago. His wife has a daughter 10F who lives with them full-time now, but her dad was around for a little while when they first got together and he left after my dad's wife won custody officially. He doesn't pay anything for his kid and my dad and his wife are the ones covering everything for her. My dad and his wife haven't been doing so good with money for a couple of years, and this year has been the worst yet for them. My mom is doing better than ever though, and she's really been stable with money. So my brother and I have a much better life than our stepsister. We get to do extracurriculars, and we get nicer stuff in general. This got so much more obvious lately, because my brother got to do 2 field trips and I got to do an international trip with my school last year. My stepsister had a field trip come up a couple of weeks ago, but my dad and his wife couldn't afford to pay for it. They asked my mom to pay, and she said no. They asked my brother to ask my mom and he didn't. So dad asked me to ask mom. He told me how much his stepdaughter wanted to go, but the school didn't have a fund to cover for families who couldn't afford it. He told me he knows it's not mom's job, but they were desperate and just wanted her to have a nice time, and she knows my brother and I never miss out, and he didn't want her to feel less important. I didn't ask. My dad got super pissed when the field trip came and neither my brother or I asked mom. And my stepsister didn't get to go, which super pissed him off. Am I the fool?
Am I the fool for not buying my wife a horse? I work in an intense, unfulfilling job 6 days a week. My wife has not had a paying job since we got engaged 16 years ago. 7 years ago, I quit my change the world job, which paid little, but conferred distinction and a sense of doing what is right for a mercenary, awful job I hate, but which pays 10 times as much. My wife enthusiastically supported, indeed urged, my job change to the higher paying but awful job. For a while I held it all in, but over time, particularly recently, I've told her clearly that this job is leading me to an early grave. It is awful the people and crap I deal with every day. It is immensely stressful and not rewarding in the least. But of course, as the pay rolled in, our standard of living increased, and the amount we spend each month is eye-watering. Last night, at a cocktail party with my friends, my wife got drunk, and on the way home, tearfully told me that I just don't understand her, and that what she truly needs to feel fulfilled is a horse. We know many people with horses. After a few questions, where she kept replying that this horse or that wasn't good enough for her, our discussion devolved into shouting. I view this as a pretty simple thing. I want to go back to a job I like someday. I'd like to reduce our spending so I don't need to work until I'm 80. My son wants to visit Madagascar. My point is that people's wants, practical, not working until I'm 80 in an awful job, or impractical, visiting Madagascar, are often placed aside. Also FYI, I don't have any hobbies. So it's not like I'm spending money on cars or something and then telling her that she can't. I should add that we live in the suburbs of a big city. We do not have a backyard where a horse can graze. We would need to first buy a special breed of horse she demands for tens of thousands of dollars, pay for feed, veterinary, stable, insurance, etc. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another stone in my backpack. Basically guaranteeing that I will never be able to do anything else. I view this as her saying, in so many terms, well, I want to be fulfilled, but I don't give a shit about your stress and fulfillment. Am I the fool for not rushing to buy her a horse?
Am I the fool for deliberately misunderstanding my child's father? So I had a baby some weeks ago with my partner, to whom I'm not married. We've been together a while, and I've given many compromises in this relationship. While discussing baby's name, we had a few disagreements on names, but ultimately decided on a name we both liked well enough. The surname was a sticking point. He wanted the baby to have his name alone. I offered to hyphenate because logistically, it's easier for the baby to have both of our names. He's been drinking the red pill Kool-Aid lately, a large bone of contention in this relationship, and went off about how it's tradition and the right thing to do and his right as a man to have the baby have his surname. He told me I'd be emasculating him and may as well be a single parent if I won't grant him this one little ask. My word is final, babies having one surname. This was late in my pregnancy and I didn't have it in to fight, so I told him that I understood what he was saying. FF to 3 weeks ago when baby's birth certificate came. He blew a gasket when he saw that I'd given the baby my surname. He rehashed the conversation above, saying I agreed to giving baby his surname. This is where I might be TA. I did nothing of the sort. I told him I understood him, which I did, but I never said I agreed with him. I told him there was no way I was doing all the work of making a baby for him to stick his name on it. When we brought up tradition, I told him it's also traditional for him to marry me before having a baby, but he was happy to ignore that. I told him it was traditional for him to be the provider, but I do that too, and I pointed out other holes in his logic. I told him trying to bully me into submission with his red pill BS when I was exhausted from pregnancy didn't work. He should have known better than to expect me to not share a surname with my child. He said the baby should only have one surname, they do. So why's he mad? He went crying to his brothers and mother, all traditionalists and misogynists, and now they're all up in arms. Am I the fool? ATA. There seems to be some confusion, we are not married or engaged. I don't believe in it, and he's never seen the point of bring the state into your relationship, so we agreed to never marry. He's on the birth certificate as the father, baby just has my last name, but father is listed. Thanks for your feedback. I'll be asking him to come for a talk so I can plainly address the issues you guys have helped me see. Thank you for that. Update 1. So it turns out he's got deep-seated resentment for me, lol. He resents me for earning more money than him, being further in my career than he is, not losing my job during COVID like he did, having parents who love and support me, not being a submissive woman, lol, having a present and loving father, not combining our finances, thus making him feel small. So when I last came here, I said I'd asked him to come home and discuss our future with baby, preferably in the presence of a neutral party. He left me on read for a few days, though I could see he was spying on us through the Ring doorbell and baby's monitor. I disconnected them both, and he finally responded. He came home very irate and rejected my offer to have a neutral facilitator for the conversation. I asked how we're supposed to move forward, and the rant above came out in a full mask-off moment. Any hope I had that you guys were wrong about him died that day. He again rejected the offer to hyphenate baby's surname. Apparently I'm disrespectful and insolent for refusing to do what's right and give baby their rightful surname. I told him I won't go through the administrative nightmare of having a different surname to my child, and lots of data shows a double-barreled surname is social currency that has positive connotations. Nope, he wouldn't budge. I told him neither would I. Baby either has both our surnames or mine alone. He asked if this was a hill I wanted this relationship to end on, if I was prepared to throw half a decade down the drain over my silly little feminism. I told him I wasn't sure there was anything left to fight for. We broke up. Thankfully, our, in his name, lease expires end of May. I called my dad and he came to help me back up baby. I messaged him to suggest we still need couples counseling. We need to learn to be co-parents, and they can help us establish a healthy way of doing that. He again said no to that, so my mom wanted to take me and baby on a baby moon holiday after this stressful period, but he would grant permission for me to take baby abroad, smiley face. It's going to be a long road ahead. I've instructed a lawyer to help us set up a formal agreement to avoid this in the future. He's not responding to correspondence from the lawyer, so that's fun. He's sulking, used to do this a lot when things didn't go his way. I hope he'll soon realize I no longer have time for his BS, and I won't be toyed with because I called his bluff and ended the relationship. To end on a bright note, the house I wanted us to buy a couple of years ago, which he talked me out of until he was back on his feet again, despite us being able to afford it on my salary alone, is back on the market. I took it as fate. It's time to move on from this man. It's a beautiful Victorian terrace near good schools, good transport links, a small garden, and close to my parents. It'd be the perfect home for baby and I put in an offer and wish me luck.
Am I the fool for being uncomfortable with my wife's band posters? I, 31 male, have been married to my wife, 30 female, for 5 years now. I love her so much, and I am so incredibly lucky to be married to her, but there is one thing that really bothers me. She has always been a huge fan of a lot of rock bands, particularly emo bands. This by itself doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I love the music too, and we go to concerts together all the time. What bothers me is that she has posters of these bands tacked up everywhere around our house. Our bedroom walls are covered in them. And I mean covered. There is not a single inch of wall space in our bedroom that is not dedicated to her band posters. Everywhere I go, everything I do, third are always eyes of 100 emo men following me around. It sounds stupid, and it probably is to be honest, but I don't think I can stand another night's sleep feeling like I am being watched constantly. I don't want to be watched by the members of My Chemical Romance or Taking Back Sunday or 21 Pilots as we make love. I've tried asking her nicely to move some of them and she gets really offended and mad at me, so I just left it behind. But it's getting hard to handle. Am I the fool?